friends, we start with the session now. Over and over again, I have been telling you there are four components: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We have covered the speaking part, the reading part. In this session, we will be talking about listening part of the communication. And listening is one of the most important, which is very close to reading. When we are reading somebody, we are actually listening to somebody. I always say, when you are reading, you are trying to listen to the author. We often say, ये क्या कहना चाह रहा है? हम कोई लाइन पढ़ते हैं. We try to tell in ourselves that ये P.V. Shelley or G.P. Shah or any author, what he is trying to say in this, or any person who has written that text, we try to tell ourselves what he is trying to say. When we say to ourselves what he is trying to say, we are trying to listen to him, but through reading. Okay, so reading is very close to the listening. We'll talk about the various aspects of listening, but let me first of all try to cover one or two things which I missed out on the first day because of the power failures, and there were experts then coming up. So I thought that I should not be eating away the time of the experts, but there are few things which I feel which basics of communication should be covered. Ma'am, can you move the slide?
Yes.
Try to focus on this slide. It says the problem with communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished. This has been said by none other than one of my favorite writers, that is George Bernard Shaw. He said that it is never possible to communicate 100%. It is only an illusion that we feel that our communication is complete. Now, some of you might be thinking that a good communicator may be a good writer or maybe a good speaker, or if you are a very good listener, you can be very, very good. The communication can be 100%. My dear friends, I like to say that communication process is only an endeavor. It is only an attempt trying to mutually understand each other. Trying to only mutually understand each other. And there is always going to be a gap. What we say, communication gap. We can reduce that gap if you are having good communication skills. We can reduce that gap. We cannot 100% eliminate that gap. Some of you may be again thinking, I am making some overriding statements. It's a big statement I am making here that communication can never be 100%. The gap is going to be there. But I can prove it. I will be proving it just now to you. That is how I always feel. That is why I feel that communication is so important, that we reduce that gap. But before I prove my point, let me say that it is this gap in communication which is causing most of the problems in the life. May it be your personal life, may it be your professional life, may it be even among the nations. You know, our Prime Minister gives a statement. How is being interpreted by the news or the media in Pakistan or in the neighboring countries? That can cause a war. A president in USA makes a statement, a president in Pakistan or in Bangladesh makes a statement. His spirit of making a statement may be different. Your interpretation of that statement can be different. So there is a gap. That gap can create wars. And if you today look at the cases pending in various courts at various levels, may it be at a village level or district level or high court or supreme court, majority of the cases are due to this communication gap. Majority of the problem which we face in the families, between the husband and wife, between the children and the parents, between the sisters and the brothers, between the sisters, between the brothers, is because of communication gap. You said something, you never meant by it, or you meant differently. The other person is interpreting it differently. If you are somehow able to reduce this gap, then hopefully your lives can be more easy, more positive, more, I would say, full of life. Those problems which we are taking up to the war, to the courts, to various forums can be reduced drastically. And this is where your communication skills play a very big role. Now, my point I said was that there will always be a communication gap. If you are a good communicator, you can communicate to somebody and there is no gap. All right? But I say there will always be a gap, communication gap. You are only making an endeavor, a प्रयास करते हैं आप कि मेरी जो बात है, जो मेरे मन की बात है, दूसरे को वो समझ में आ गई और वो उसको यूज करके वैसे उसको इस्तेमाल कर रहा है. He is making use of what I am trying to say. He understood it. Before the person uses that communication, he must understand it very well. Let us say if I say something to somebody, I say something to that person, he understands it and acts upon it. Let us say as simple as I tell the person in my lab, raise your hand, right hand. If they understand it, okay, they have understood it, that this is their right hand, and I am trying to tell them to raise your right hand. Now, this is my communication is not complete till the time they are raising their hand. I don't know whether you have understood it or no. All right. So, when you are making use of the information or the communication, then we feel that you are understood and the communication is 100%. Now, how many times you communicate to yourself, me to myself, and we understand each other? Now, try to find a difference between I and me and myself. I, me, and myself. What to say of communicating with others? How many times you understand yourself? That is basically the question. I understand, I communicate to myself. Tomorrow morning, I have to get up at 5 o'clock, do my morning routine, and go for a walk. There, spend about 45 minutes, 1 hour for the yoga, and then come back, have a glass of lemon water, and then read newspaper for half an hour, do this thing and that thing. That is going to be my good beginning in the day. Okay, I communicate to myself. I communicate to myself. Have I understood I? Do I next day morning not shut up my alarm clock? And let us say if I plan to go for a 1 mile walk, after 7.5 kilometers, I say, kal ko karenge. I tell myself, don't take 5 rasgullas. Today I am going in the evening party. But I tell myself that this can cause me a problem. Do I listen to myself? Is communication complete? If my communication, I'll give you a simple example on simple issues like walking or eating. There are many complex issues on which I do not understand myself. If I am not able to understand myself, there is a communication gap between I and myself. You can imagine the gap between you and the other person. In communication skills, we try to bridge up this gap through various ways. This 5 days program is basically trying to equip you to some extent to bridge up this gap between the others. So, my dear friend, now coming back to the slide which I showed you in the just now, what GB Shah said, the problem with communication is the illusion. ये हमारे को एक भ्रम रहता है कि हमारी बात दूसरे आदमी को समझ में आ गई, वो आई नहीं होती. वो हमारे को अपनी बात समझ में नहीं आई होती, तो दूसरे को कैसे समझ में आएगी? But nevertheless, we take an attempt and we keep attempting and we try to minimize that gap. Now, before I again come to my main topic of the day, that is listening skills, let me define the process of communication. Now, this particular slide is showing you the process of communication which will be referred to or which has been referred to by many speakers, and because this process is the basic to the communication, let me just highlight it for 2-3 minutes so that you understand it very well. In communication, we start with a message. We always start with a message. हमारा idea क्या है? And there is always a sender who has that message. There is always a receiver to whom we want to send that message. So that message is there. There is a person who has that message. There is a person to whom we want to send that message. In the process of communication, if you look at this slide, we start with a message. The sender encodes that idea or that message. When we say encoding, it can be in terms of words, figures, diagrams, or even non-verbal ways. Let us say, मेरे को कोई बात करनी है, मेरे माइंड में कोई idea है, I can communicate with the help of the words, I can say it, I can write it, I can email it, I can tell you on telephone, or I can just make certain gestures of my body by which the other person can understand what I am trying to say. So the sender encode, उसको उस process को कहते हैं encoding that idea कि मैं इसको दूसरे आदमी के इस जरिए से what channel I am going to use to communicate to the other person. So you encode that idea and you use the appropriate process of communication, maybe oral, maybe written, maybe through electronic media, through newspaper, through any media. The process has to be done. The receivers decode it. जो मैंने words कहे, उनको जो receiver है, the other person is trying to decode. वो इसको interpret करता है. यदि मैंने body gestures कहे हैं, वो body gestures को interpret कर रहा है. यदि मैंने कुछ words कहे हैं या लिखे हैं या communicate किसी भी तरीके से करे हैं, the other person is decoding it, interpreting it. And then the most important process in the communication is use or take action on that. Unless the user is not taking action, you must have must note it down that communication has not completed. It is no use. He will either use it, take action, and then give you feedback. Either he is going to give you feedback verbally or non-verbally, or by his or her actions you will understand whether he has been able to decode that message rightly or wrong. And then once you are interpreting his feedback or her feedback, you become a receiver. Now, then in this process itself, you see, you are sending it through here. He is sending or she is sending the feedback through words or through the actions. Now you become the receiver. He becomes the or she becomes the sender. So the sender and receiver are not fixed positions. They keep on changing. That is why we say communication is a dynamic process. The sender becomes the receiver becomes the sender, and then the process carries on till the time you are satisfied with the communication. And as I said on the first day itself, brevity in this whole system, how briefly you can convey your ideas to others, that is the most important aspect of communication. Let us say if I want to say certain things to all of you, I can say that thing maybe in 2 sentences, maybe I can say in 10 sentences, or maybe I can say in a paragraph, or I can say it in an essay, or I can say it in a book. I can write a full book on what I want to say to you. If I am being brief, you will be interested and will be able to gather that idea. But in that brevity, the essence and the spirit must be conveyed. That is the art of communication. That is why we say communication is the art. It is also a science because it has a definite process which all of us can understand and implement in our day in and day out lives also. All right. So communication is a dynamic process. It is an art and a science. Now the efficiency, the effectiveness of communication will depend on so many things. From this process again, let us go back to this process again. Right from the message, if that message or that idea is very clear in your own understanding, hopefully you are heading towards good communication. This is the first thing, the idea that message should be very clear in your own mind, in your own understanding about it. There should not be any gap between me and I. All right. If there is a gap between I and me, then probably whatever how much however good communicator I may be, there will be a gap. Now, the message should be very clear. Your proficiency in encoding that idea, your vocabulary, your use of the phrases, your grammar, your vocabulary, your art of making the gestures and postures and everything, that encoding should be very good. Those figures you draw, those diagrams you make, those graphs you make, all those things, if you're good in encoding, hopefully, again, your communication will be good. You have encoded the idea, the message is very clear to you, you have encoded it very rightly, very nicely, but the process is bad. Now, I am doing it in to the best of my, मेरे को idea बिल्कुल clear है मेरे mind में, मैं उसको encode भी अच्छे से कर रहा हूँ, but due to the internet problem, it is not reaching you. The process, the channels, telephone में disturbance है, कुछ problem आ गई है. That process, I have drawn a very good figure, very good chart for the classroom, but I hang it at a place where nobody can read it. Encoding बहुत अच्छे से हुई है, message बहुत clear है, but you are not able to read it. It's not even reaching you. I am speaking at a pitch and a voice which is not reaching you. All right. So your process is problem. Okay. If the process is very good, okay, your message is good, your encoding is good, your process is also leak proof. Now the capacity of the receiver to decode it is very important. If he is not able to decode, however good it may be, आपने ऐसे ऐसे ग्राफ बना दिए, मेरे को इंटरप्रिटेशन करने में प्रॉब्लम आ रही है. I cannot draw any inferences. I am speaking very good French. I have undergone a course on French. बहुत ही शानदार तरीके से मैं अपने भावनाओं को इनकोड कर रहा हूँ. प्रोसेस से आपके पास पहुंच भी रही है. But you do not know the French. You do not know the vocabulary. You know English. I am speaking in English here. Now I am encoding my feelings or my thought, that message, and sending it across to you, but your vocabulary is not same as mine, so you are not able to decode it. So the receiver's capacity of decoding is equally important in communication. Now, after that, the usage and the feedback. We have talked about that. I will not go into the details. But my dear friends, when we talk about the process of communication, starting from message to the sender, to the encoding, the process, to the decoding action and feedback, and then to the sender, this process, whole process, at every stage you will appreciate it is very, very important. If there are flaws at any point, your communication is going to be a problem. There will be many, many gaps in your communication. So that is why we are. I wanted to just elaborate this thing to you, this particular point through these slides. Now let me go to my main session. There are so many things about the communication. We will keep talking about that. But my main session of today's program is on listening skills. We said the process starts with listening, then speaking, then reading and writing. I will be talking to you some basic things about listening. Towards the end of my presentations here, I will be giving you a small exercise also. This exercise is about 10 to 15 minutes. I will request all the centers to kindly be present throughout the session and give me the feedback based upon that audio clip which I will be playing towards the end of my session. That there will be a speech by Steve Jobs, which you will be hearing, not in his voice, but somebody else's voice, Madam Chanchal Narang from Punjab University, Chandigarh. She is the professor in the communication departments there. Chanchal Narang has done that. Why we have not taken original speech? Because the accent, the language, the accent used by Steve Jobs probably will be very, very difficult for all of you to understand. So we have indigenized that speech and we'll be playing for that, and we will be doing that exercise to the end of the day. Now come to the listening skills. I will be covering these aspects in my presentations here. Uh, and towards the end, I will be talking something on note taking also. Note taking is important aspect of listening. Madam said, just Konika said that when we are reading, we must keep our pen and paper ready so that we make our own notes and maybe highlight on that document itself, maybe a book or maybe any kind of a report. So we underline it or highlight it, but it is a good idea to highlight it and make your own notes. And when we say note taking in listening skills, you are making mental notes also. Note taking is not only always written. Of course, when you are listening to somebody, it is always good idea to have a written notes made. But you cannot keep on carrying your notebooks all the time. When you're talking to somebody, maybe in an informal setting, when you're talking to your boss or you're in a meeting, sometimes you are not taking your notebooks, or your boss has just now called you, or you're talking to a colleague. How you are taking a mental note, that is also very important aspect. If you are not taking mental notes, then your listening skills are not appropriate and you are not fulfilling the purpose of communication properly. Okay, so we will be talking about something on the note taking also. Now, through this slide, let me explain it to you. That we have been talking about this process of communication. Go vertically in the first column: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. How we learned in our life. When the child is born, the first thing what the child start doing is start listening. We all keep on telling the child, बाबा ये हो रहा है, बाबा वो, बाबा 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 सुन ही रहा है बस, बाबा वो सुनता ही रहता है. His process of learning communication start with the listening. Totally आवाज में हम बोलते हैं, उसके साथ कुछ भी बोलते रहते हैं. He or she, the baby, keep on listening. Then slowly, he or she will start speaking. He will stammer. He will, do mistakes. No coherence between the words. No grammar. But he is trying to convey the first few sentences he says in crying only, which the mother can only understand. He speaks only in the language of crying, which only the mother can understand. Only very, very close people can. But the second stage is that of speaking. Then the third is reading. फिर हम उसको थोड़ा सा पढ़ाना शुरू करते हैं कि A for apple, diagram दिखाते हैं उसको apple की. Then we give the draw the letter A. Then he associates A with for him the first time when he see the letter A, it is basically a inverted half finished triangle and a line between. I mean, he has no concept of this is called A. You start calling it A. For him, the whole thing is all the fruits are fruit. You start calling a apple. You start calling banana a banana. Okay, this is how he start associating, and he start speaking those things. And then he start reading. You slowly he start reading things, and then by holding his hand, you try to teach him how to write by making dots. Those of you young parents here would, or the old parents also, they remember those who have small children at home, or you have your brother's children or sister's children. How difficult for a child is to draw a digit 1. एक लिखने के लिए how much effort a child is requiring. You एक जो है वो small dot. It's a lot of practice. One very happy. It is joy for you and your children that you saw. This is the process of learning the communication. We start with the listening, we start with the speaking, then reading, then slide. And extent used in the common life, we listen the most, then we don't speak as much as we listen. We keep listening 24 hours. Even when we are sleeping, some noises are coming through our minds. We keep listening to those voices. Okay, and then speaking is the second order which we use in the life. Then reading is third order, and writing is the this order is for the normal human being. But there can be people who are very good readers, they may be spending more time in reading. But there are people who are writers, they may be spending more time in writing. But then definitely that time is not more than listening and speaking. Even for the very great authors, very great readers also. Now, see the dichotomy of the things here. How we teach in our schools and colleges. How we test our students through writing. How proficiency, how proficiency, how proficiently he has learned a subject. We try to test through writing. We give lot of emphasis on writing. Homework करके लगाना आना है, writing. ड्राइंग शीट बनानी है, राइटिंग. लैब रिपोर्ट बनानी है, राइटिंग. वी गिव एंड फाइनल एग्जाम में आपको पास या फेल करना है थ्रू मोस्टली राइटिंग, समटाइम वाइवा, बट मोस्टली राइटिंग. नाउ कम टू दिस स्लाइड अगेन. हम लिसनिंग को कम से कम एम्फेसिस देते हैं, स्पीकिंग को थोड़ा सा उससे ज्यादा, लेकिन हम राइटिंग को सबसे ज्यादा एम्फेसिस देते हैं. If you, my dear friends, wants to learn the communication skills, we have to change this order. Let it be a natural order, which the children learn right from the beginning. We have to change our systems of communication in the educational institutions. Probably that may be taking, some of the advanced countries are heading towards those things already, by which most of the programmed learning, I would say, is taking place in this order. Okay, so we extent taught is writing, reading, speaking, and listening. That is why one of the reasons, especially in India, I would say, our listening skills are very, very bad. Our listening skills are very, very bad. We will come down to that, but let me go to the processes and other things. Now, the very meaning of the word listening. Listening refers to the ability to assimilate, to gather, to understand an oral message. I am limiting here to oral message, but actually when you read, you are also listening. But for general common understanding for this session, I am restricting my discussions of reference. When I say listening, it means assimilating or understanding a oral message. Listening attentively is very important for effective communication. Listening is with mind, whereas hearing is with senses. Listening is with mind. You may be hearing so many things, but there is a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is with your senses. I am hearing so many sounds. As I am sitting and talking to you, the sound of the air conditioner is coming to me. There is a person who is walking outside, his footsteps, a participant is making noise with his pen, or his chair is making some sound. I am hearing everything. But am I listening to them? Probably not. Probably yes. If my mind is towards that, then yes. So the hearing is with the senses and listening is with the mind. This distinction we must understand, and we must be very clear about it. Listening is a conscious effort. When you're trying to listen, when you're trying to dispose of your mind, you're trying to apply your mind, making a conscious effort to hear what you want to listen. That is basically a listening. Okay? It is an active process of eliciting, that is getting information or reaction, information or idea. This is an active process. It is not a passive. When you are sleeping, certain sounds are coming to your ears. This is a passive process. You are not actively hearing them. When you are actively hearing certain things, that becomes your listening. So this is how the listening can be defined. It reflects the attitude and emotions of the listener. It reflects your attitude, how you dispose of your mind, how you behave. That is reflected through your listening ability. Okay, your attitude and your emotions. It also influences your interpersonal and oral exchange. I will not elaborate, you understand it very well. How your interpersonal relationships are, how you orally exchange information or your feelings with others, that will be governed largely by your listening skills. Let me just take, if you permit me, spend 1 minute on this issue of interpersonal and oral exchange. How listening can influence your interpersonal relationship. Let us say a colleague of mine comes to my office and he has a very important thing to share, his feelings. Maybe he's undergoing some kind of a trauma, some kind of a problem, and he feels that Mr. Singla is the right person to share this information and take his advice. Or even if he doesn't take my advice on thing, he want to make that thing common with me. He wants to share that information with me, that he's undergoing such a problem and this. I am busy in my office before he comes. I am working on a assignment which I have to give to the students next day morning. I am working on the PowerPoint and all. I am working on the system and I suddenly see my colleague coming in my office and I say hello to him. He say hello to me and he starts saying certain things. Okay, and I am still carrying on busy with my making of the PowerPoints or doing whatever job I am occupied in, and he is not comfortable. He's not comfortable because I am not making any eye contact. I am not nodding. I am not responding. I am not even paying attention. I verbally say, Mr. So and so, would you mind if I carry on my routine things and you keep on? I'm listening to you, but this is the routine things I'm doing because of my urgency. But I'm listening to you. Now, here the interpersonal relationships start. If I am not able to feel the pinch my friend or my colleague is want to share with me, I am just hearing, I am not listening. This will affect largely on our interpersonal relationships. This will largely, many times, my dear friends, in our homes, in our professional setting, wherever we go, if just we are good listener, just I may not be able to even one iota of help to my colleague or my son or my daughter or my mother or my wife. I just patiently listen very carefully. That is the big, there is a first step towards having a healthy interpersonal relationship. Even if, let us say, I want to help that colleague, now take the other side of the story. Even if I am helping my colleague like anything, okay, in the first case, I am not helping, I'm just patiently listening, okay. But in the other case, I am not paying attention, but I am trying to help him out. I assure him that I will help you, and I am actually helping out. Still, it will affect our interpersonal relationships. I am not saying that you be fake, paying attention and don't do anything. Please do not mistake me on that. What I am trying to say is, if you are paying a patient ear to somebody, patient ear means applying your mind and trying to listen what other person is trying to say, be with him or her in his or her feelings. Uh, that is basically improves your interpersonal relationships and your oral exchange can improve. If I am busy, I am not talking to somebody else. Okay? It's got your full time attention mentally and physically. Why listening skills are important? It improves the relationships, as I mentioned, improves our knowledge and understanding. If I'm listening to somebody, my own understanding about my own knowledge, just now over the cup of tea, I was sharing with my two participants here that maybe I know 10 things. But if I am able to listen to any one of the person, to the both the persons sitting in my lab here who attending the program, or maybe persons from my nodal centers, they may contribute. That will add to your knowledge, your understanding. That will improve all that. But if I'm not listening, I have a prejudice, which is a barrier in communication, a psychological barrier. इनको क्या पता है? मैंने भी किताबें पढ़ी हुई हैं. I have been teaching this subject for the last 10 years, for 30 years. Whatever on the earth is available on the net, on the books, on the journals, I know it all. Your knowledge start decreasing from that time on. So you can improve your knowledge and understanding only if you're a good listener. And I said reading is also listening. Then prevents problem being escalated. If you are being a good listener, बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लमों को वहीं पे खत्म किया जा सकता है. As I said in the beginning of my presentations here, most of the problems start with the misunderstanding, with the gaps in the communication. आपने कुछ कहा, उसने कुछ और सुना, फिर आपने कहा मेरे कहने का तो ये मतलब नहीं था. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean by this. All right. The whole problem, the whole fight we have fought in our bedrooms because of that. Now, before I go to the next point, let me come back to the my previous slides and make an important point about communication skills. Here. Though it is not directly related with the listening skill, but then yes, there is a difference between an argument and a discussion. In communication, we can argue on certain things, we can also discuss on certain things. Argument is one in which we try to prove who is right. मैं अपनी वाइफ को कहता हूं कि मैं ठीक हूं, वो कहती है मैं ठीक हूं. मैं अपने बेटे को कहता हूं कि मैं ठीक हूं, वो कहता है. मैं अपने बॉस को कहता हूं कि मैं ठीक हूं, he is saying I am right. In discussion, we impersonalize the issue and we try to find out what is right. We are not trying to find who is right, but what is right. Discussions are always welcome. Arguments should be avoided, should be discarded at every platform in communication. At every platform in communication, the arguments should be avoided. One of my teachers in communication skills when I was a student, like maybe I was 18 years old when I was doing my class 2, or 18 years old probably. He said at that time, my dear friend, argument should be avoided. You are trying to prove you are right, the other person is trying to prove he or she is right. When you put your first argument, to prove that you are right, you have lost half the battle. जब आप पहला ही आर्गुमेंट देते हैं ये प्रूव करने के लिए कि आप ठीक है, आपने आधी लड़ाई उसी समय हार दी. The moment you put your second argument, you lost the remaining half. That particular sentence from my teacher in the class 2 when I was maybe in 1978 when I was a student. We still meet very often, me and my teacher, Professor Kuldeep Jadka from DAP College, retired from DAP College. We still meet very often. I took it a note of it and listened to it and try to implement it in every situation, may it be office, may it be home. And thankfully, there are very less arguments in our home and in my office situations. And we are avoiding a lot of problems in home and in my professional setting. The moment you put your first argument, you lost the battle, half the battle. The moment you put the second argument, you lose the complete battle. So argument means you want to prove who is right. So in any case, you want to lose the battle, so avoid argument. Instead, better you discuss and arguments में situation ये आ जाती है. मैडम स्लाइड के ultimately argument करते करते कहाँ पे situation आ जाती है you want to raise your voice, you want to use harsh words. Ultimately, हाथापाई पे बात आ जाती है. The problem with the argument is your ego is not allowing you to accept or to cool down. And remember always, this is another thing which my teacher told me, that every ego of yours is a false ego. In any case, you are pampering a ego which is false, which is erroneous, which is an error, which is not there. You are trying to pamper something which is not there, which is unreal. In any case, it's a false ego. I am trying to prove 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 on a principle of addition, which is a wrong principle. Principle ही गलत है, तो result कैसे ठीक हो सकता है? All right. So the root of the argument is ego, and which is on the false principle. If you understand this much, probably you will be able to come out of any situation without having any argument and having a good discussion. Ultimately, in the families, the situation comes to this. I always say, in the first few sentences, you listen to your wife is listening to you. After some time, if the situation turns into argument, your neighbor hears. आपके पड़ोसी सुन रहे होते हैं, आपकी वाइफ आपकी बात नहीं सुन रही. आप अपनी वाइफ की बात नहीं सुन रहे, उसकी बात भी neighbors are hearing. Neighbor can be next door neighbor, or it can be your children or your parents who have nothing to do with that business. वो लोग सुन रहे हैं जिनको वो बात कहीं नहीं जा रही. You raise your voice on that. So the situation can come. You stop talking to each other. The things can go to the court. The best way is, you can say, I am sorry, I do not mean it. You can be on your knees. To go to your knees, maybe mentally, maybe emotionally, maybe physically also. Why not? Does it kill your ego? There is no ego anyways. What it takes to say sorry, we say good communication means sorry, thank you, this, that. And once it comes to making it practical in our day of life, our ego comes in between that. That becomes the biggest barrier. It says, oh, I should say sorry to my daughter. Or I should say sorry to my wife. I should say sorry to my subordinate. Why not? What is stopping you for that? If you will not do that, you are coming to a argument, coming to a situation when nobody is listening to you. If you are avoiding that and coming to this resolution of I am sorry, I didn't mean it, you can even have instead of reaching to this situation, you can even have a discussion on with so many people. What to say 1-to-1, so many people can discuss on an issue to find out the solutions of a problem instead of proving that I am right or I am wrong. This is where most of the communications in the meetings go wrong, where people try to prove that I am right, I am wrong, instead of finding out what is right, what is wrong. So this is a bad communication in meetings, in the homes, in the professional lives. This particular thing you can remember always. Immature people always want to win an argument. Immature. You are not grown up. It is immaturity to make an attempt to win an argument, even at the cost of a relationship. आपका divorce हो गया यार. And but you say, आपकी ego कह रही है, मेरा argument जीत गया, मेरी ego जीत गई. At what cost? You have ruined your family life. You have ruined your business life. You have ruined your all life. It is immaturity. You are not grown up yet. Mature ones. Now come to the same slide, ma'am. Mature ones prefer losing an argument just to uphold a golden relationship. So what if I have lost the argument, but I have won a relationship? Do you agree with me? Does it make any sense to you when it comes to communication? How important it is, even in the personal lives? Okay, we will like to again go back to the slide, ma'am. of the listening skills. Improves relationship, improves our knowledge and understanding, prevents problem being escalating, saves time and energy. If you're a good listener, I don't have to repeat it again over and over again. It saves a lot of your time and energy, saves money and resources, leads to a better results. In everything revolves around the communication of that. And if you're a good listener, it can always be a result to better lives in your personal life, in your professional life. Now, hearing is to perceive sound via ear. This is just hearing. And listening is to concentrate. Yesterday, somebody was asking question on how to improve hearing, listening. We will this slide particularly shows you the Collins English Dictionary talks about what listening is about. It says to concentrate on hearing something or heed or pay attention to what the other person is trying to say. It may happen, when once we start reading, even in the reading also, I read a full paragraph. My mind is not with the lines. I read it 10 times. My mind is not with that. With concentration, I am not able to read it. Similarly, with concentration, you are not hearing the other person. Your mind is somewhere else. As you are sitting in the classroom, you are worried about the evening program, maybe, or maybe your leg is paining. Your mind is towards that pain, or maybe you have something else to. Your mind is occupied somewhere else. So even if you are making repeated readings or repeated listenings, आप कहते हैं okay, pardon me, बताइए दोबारा आप क्या कह रहे थे? Again you say pardon me. The other person is repeating, but your mind is not on that. So you keep on. You will never understand the other person what he's trying to say. So listening is to concentrate on hearing something, heed or pay attention to what the other person is trying to say. This is simple definition given by Collins English Dictionary. This is what Collins known as listening. Concentrate on one is what you are hearing. And if you are not able to concentrate, you can tell the other person, okay, right now I am not able to listen to you. Right now I am not in a fit condition to read this book. This is what Konika was trying to say to you, that when you are not in a position to read, do not make attempt during that time. If you are not in the, Madam Sudhiti Jindal also said in her oral communication, it is a good idea to ask somebody, is it a good time to talk to you on this? We have a choice to say yes or no, but more often we say yes even if we are not. That is the first mistake. You can say, can we discuss about it maybe in the evening when I have more free time? Right now I am occupied. I tell my colleagues very frankly that right now I am occupied in so and so thing. Can we discuss it maybe after 1 hour, after 2 p.m., after so and so time? My phone is ringing. The vibration of my phone is ringing in my pocket. I have every temptation to pick it up and listen to it. In the midst of what I am doing right now, I am talking to you on the screen, or talking to my students, or I am making some notes. Is it a good time for me to pick up my phone or tell him in one sentence, can we discuss it in the evening? So this is very important. You must pay heed and good times. So types of listening, there can be basically 4 types of listening. Appreciative listening. Listening for pleasure or enjoyment. You listen to the music, the movie, the comedy, the play. You appreciate other person but what he is trying to say. This is one type of listening. The other type of listening is empathetic listening. Listening to provide emotional support for the speaker. Doctor listen to a patient, you listen to a friend situation. आप उससे उसका दुख दर्द बांटना चाहते हैं. That is known as empathetic listening. Then there is a comprehensive listening. Listening to understand the speaker's message. Maybe some of you are now doing what we are doing in the classroom. What you are doing is comprehensive listening. You're trying to understand what I'm trying to say. There is a piece of information I want to share with you. You are complete. It's not an appreciative listening. Maybe here and there I am adding certain humor here, certain story here, certain things here. I try to create a drama in my presentation to get your full attention. You become for a moment empathetic listener also, but largely you are trying to be a comprehensive listener. Then there is another type of listening known as critical listening, listening to evaluate a message. You try to listen to somebody to evaluate whether he or she is saying right or wrong. There are, my dear friends, no borderline. There are no strict, bold line differences between all these four listeners. But then largely we are either listening appreciatively, empathetically, comprehensively, or critically. This why I'm sharing this slide with you is once you understand this difference between the different kind of listener, you will understand in what situation what I have to do. Many times I find people when they are supposed to be comprehensive listeners, they become critical listeners. देखते हैं आज वो क्या कहता है. The other person has come to share information with you, but आपका जो attitude है, that is on critical listening. You are a critical listener many times. Unwittingly, unknowingly, you become a critical listener. Then you will not be able to comprehend what the other person is trying to say to you. How you carry your prejudices in that. This is basically four types of listeners, but maybe we will be discussing about that in the later parts of our program. But some people have divided listening into different types based on the informative listening में क्या कुछ जाता है, relationship listening में क्या कुछ जाता है. These are the types of listening which happens in the appreciative listening. Then critical listening के अंदर आपके ethos, logos, pathos ये सब चीजें आती हैं. Then we can also define categorize the listening into discriminate listening. Hearing ability, awareness of sound structure, integration of non-verbal cues, all those things. We'll be covering all those things maybe in the subsequent presentation, maybe tomorrow morning itself. Madam Archana Arsin will be talking to you about articulation. Now there are different types of listeners also, my dear friends. Different types of listening, different types of listeners. The first type of listeners are fraudulent, pseudo listeners. I see in the class or even in the any setting, they just keep on nodding the head. वो बैठे कागज में फूल बना रहे होते हैं या आपस में सांप सीढ़ी गेम खेल रहे होते हैं बच्चे क्लास में, but they will keep on nodding so that you get an impression that they are listening to you. They are fraudulent listeners. Then there are listeners who are monopolists. They want to keep on speaking. They don't want to listen to you. They never want to listen to you. Monopolists. Then there are people who are completers. आपका sentence अभी आधा खत्म नहीं हुआ, they want to complete it. They fill in the अभी आपने कुछ कहा बीच बीच में आपने थोड़ा सा पाज लिया सांस लेने के लिए, आपने थोड़ा सा गैप लिया, थोड़ा सा ब्रेक लिया, थोड़ा पाज लिया आपने just to build up the next sentence or to gather your ideas to say something. आपने थोड़ा सा पाज लिया. They are trying to find that gap. They want to fill up that gap. We call them completers or fillers. And then there are listeners who are selective listeners. They want to listen only what they want to listen. आपने कुछ कहना है, उन्होंने वही सुनना है जो वो सुनना चाहते हैं. आपने कहा कल छुट्टी नहीं है, बच्चों ने कहा कल छुट्टी है. आपने कहा कि टेस्ट सो एंड सो डेट को होना है. They wanted to have test on particular date. They will say, sir, आपने कहा था. You have never said that. So there and in many situations, depending on their interest, they want to interpret whatever you want to say, zero down into only what they want to listen. Then there are avoiders. Close their ears to information they would rather not deal with. Arey, chodo. They're avoiders. They are simply menuki. Avoiders. Close their ears. Then there are defenders. आपने कुछ कहा, you are not trying to criticize the other person. You don't want to make a judgment, but they are always in a defensive mode. नहीं नहीं नहीं, मैंने ऐसा नहीं कहा, अरे आपने कुछ कहा ही नहीं उसको, बट दे आर ऑलवेज इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ डिफेंडिंग देमसेल्व्स, डिफेंसिव, assuming that other person is trying to criticize you. But then there are other type of listeners which are always in a attackers. We call them attacking mode. Wait for you to make a mistake. देख लेंगे उसको, पहले ही वो मूड बना के आए होते हैं, और देर आर सर्टेन अटैकर्स, वो ऑलवेज दे आर इन ए मूड टू अटैक. आप क्लास में जो कुछ भी बोलेंगे, देर आर सम बॉयज और गर्ल्स इन द स्टूडेंट्स हु आर अटैकर, दे आर द अटैकर लिसनर्स. So, and again, there is no, again, borderline differences between all of them. We become the fraudulent listeners, we become attackers, we become avoiders. But to be a good listener, you have to be, very, very good in concentrating, in assimilating, putting your mind and soul on what the other person is trying to say to you. Why we are not good listeners? Why we are not good listeners? Why we are not good readers? We often fail when it comes to listening. We often fail. Before I go to next, let me give you a golden rule in being an effective listener. Golden rule. Somebody was asking me yesterday, what is the principal, and ma'am asked you, what is the golden rule? She asked, what is the key point? Madam Miriam was like to ask me. Let me give you here, share with you the golden rule. If you want to be a good listener, remember this golden rule. And in India, because of our culture is such that we often break this golden rule. Very often, in every step when it comes to communication, maybe in the homes, maybe in the professional lives, maybe anywhere, we have tendency to break this golden rule. That is why there are so many problems which we face at every platform. The golden rule is very simple. I would say in only 2 words, which makes a phrase. Do not cut. Do not cut. Don't cut. Is it a difficult thing? Try exercising it. The other person is trying to say something on the phone. He has not yet completed. You cut him. The other person is sitting across you. He has not yet completed. You cut him. In every situation, आपके घर में कोई गेस्ट आते हैं, after 10 minutes, everybody is cutting each other. Nobody is listening to anybody. I see this situation in my drawing room very often when a family visits us. In the beginning, we say hello, क्या हाल है, क्या हाल है. वो भी कहते हैं क्या हाल है, वो फलाना बच्चा क्या कर रहा है. One person is speaking, everybody is listening. हाँ जी ये कर रहा है. After 10 minutes, instead of one person speaking and everybody listening, I find my wife is talking to somebody. The person who has come, he's trying to find somebody who is paying attention to him. He's talking to so and so person. जिससे वो बात कर रहा है, somebody is trying to catch his attention. So the person is trying to listen to that person, and the other person who is trying to catch the attention. It becomes a fish market. Nobody is listening to anybody. But each one is trying to cut each other. Does it happen to in your drawing rooms? Does it happen in our meetings? Does it happen to our when we talk about how often we cut each other? When we talk to somebody on the phone, I often say, "Let me complete, let me complete, let me complete." The other person is trying to say something. You are not allowing the other person to complete. Your turn will come. This is the cultural barrier also, I would say, to some extent. When we talk to somebody in the West, it is taken as one of the biggest offense, my dear friends. If you cut somebody on the phone, I'm not talking about the phone disconnection. Let us say somebody is talking, I'm cutting him, and I want to say my point without listening to him fully. We call it a do not cut. The other person is cutting you, maybe in person, maybe on the telephone. It is taken as one of the biggest offense in the Western world. Our Indian culture, we have somehow come to accept this as a cultural norm. Cutting each other is okay. But then This golden rule has been broken to such an extent that there has been so many miscommunications. There has been so many miscommunications that so many cases in the various courts, in various forums are lying pending only because of one problem, that we are not good listeners, we are cutting each other. We are not allowing other person to speak. What it takes to other person to speak, listen to somebody. So in this 5 days program, if you are able to carry only one message, that do not cut, I think I am successful. We are successful in this institute on the program on communication skills. Do not cut. Stop cutting. It will take some deliberate effort in the beginning, but slowly and slowly you can cultivate this habit of listening to the other person and then saying to the other person what you want to say about. All right, and cutting each other is almost as big a offense as murdering somebody in the Western world. आपने किसी का मर्डर कर दिया हो, the other person is taking almost as big a offense as if आपने उसका मर्डर कर दिया. उनका कल्चर यहाँ तक है. I am not saying that, I am not trying to exaggerate this point, but since this topic is on listening skills and this whole program is on communication skills, the communication can never be done without having a good listening skills. The child up to the age of 1 year or 1.5 years, before he starts speaking, sometimes the child takes 2, 3 years, 4 years time to speak certain things very clearly. What he is trying to do or she is trying to do during that time? Listening. Isn't it so? So the process of listening, he is trying to cultivate the habit of listening. Okay. These are the problems which we normally, these are falsities, I would say, fallacies about the listening. We have a misconception. Listening is not my problem, we often say. It is his problem. Listening and hearing are same. We have this conception, wrong conception. This is the false conception, what we call as fallacies about listening. Good readers are good listeners, may or may not be. Smart people are better listeners, may or may not be. Listening improve with age. We say, जैसे मैं बड़ा होता जाऊंगा, I am now impatient, but with age I will become more better listener. My dear friends, this becomes a habit. If you are not good listener at a young age, you have developed a habit of cutting each other, cutting the other person. You have a habit of being one of those types of listeners which I just now listed to you. This habit will, वो पकती जाती है habit जो है वो और ज़्यादा strengthen होती जाती है. As you will grow up, you will become impossible. A person who is not able to listen becomes, we call that person as impossible. उसको कुछ बता ही नहीं सकते हम, because he is not able to listen. He may be hearing you, but he is not listening. It happens with many. I see in my colleagues, in my bosses, in my country, in various platforms, people do not listen. And they have developed this habit over the years, with the age. No, listening does not improve with the age. It's a false conception. Right from the childhood, try to listen to your children. Try to make the habit in them to listen to you patiently. This will improve your communication skills. Learning not to listen, thinking about what we are going to say rather than listening the other person is trying to say. Talking to another, we should be listening. Hearing what we expect here rather than not. Paying no attention. Preoccupied, prejudiced, self-centeredness, stereotype. We stereotype. Stereotype, I have to say one thing. We stereotype. Stereotype is also a barrier in listening and in communication. When we say barrier in listening, it means barrier in communication. Stereotype. I always say stereotype means we try to label. अरे यार वो जब भी कहेगा ऐसा कहेगा. I am not paying my attention because I have stereotyped so and so person. अरे वो नेता है, वो कहता है कि हम लोग बिजली लगाएंगे. He actually has a plan to give you 24-hour electricity. He has planned out. But आपने stereotype कर दिया कि every नेता will say like this. Every so and so person will, जो आपका shopkeeper है, he is giving you guarantee. Now you have stereotyped all shopkeepers give you false guarantee. Maybe this particular shopkeeper is giving you good guarantee. So stereotype is also a big barrier in your listening. You don't listen to him. You don't read it. Listening skills are different too, difficult to learn, but then it is not difficult, my friend. Listening skills are difficult to learn, but not difficult. It requires some conscious effort on our part to be a good listener, and I give you the golden rule for that. Barriers in active listening. Environmental barriers. I am talking to you. Environment can be, for example, this sound system, this internet, this electricity, or my voice, or some sound, some which is distracting. Physiological barrier. I am not feeling good today. Maybe some mental problem, maybe so some physical problem. Then there can be certain psychological barriers. Psychological barriers are one of the biggest barriers than the environmental. Selective listeners, negative listeners, personal reactions, poor motivation to listen. This becomes your psychological barrier. You don't want to listen, you don't want to talk, you don't want to have a good communication. That becomes you're prejudiced. आपने stereotype कर दिया सब कुछ. मैडम कल एक term use कर रही थी. What term she was using? If you remember, Meera Anand was talking about something. When she was talking about classroom communication, she gave you an exercise also. Do you remember what she was trying to say? We try to program certain piling up. You pile up so much things that you pile up so much things in your mind that your mind is already full. There is no capacity to listen now. You keep piling. Okay. Interrupting, trying to be helpful. अभी उसने बात नहीं कल को भी yesterday also somebody gave you example, you know, the doctor, the other person is trying to say something, you are trying to help some person. You're trying to render a help which was never needed. So there are people who are always trying to helpful without even listening, seeing discussion as a competition. Some people take discussion as a competition. That becomes a big barrier in your listening. Disreaction, red flag words or emotional triggers. I like to say a few words on that. This may be a different concept for you, maybe. I like to elaborate upon this, maybe. How this distraction or red flag words or emotional trigger, they hinder or they become barrier, they become noises in our listening skills, in our communication skills. Red flag word, maybe you are sensitive to certain words because of your background, because of your attitude, because of your experience, you are sensitive to few words. Now the moment somebody talks about that word, that triggers your emotions, that triggers your feelings, and you stop listening to the person, you start reacting. That distract, that red flag word, the moment. Maybe the other person has used that word in a different sense altogether. उसका मतलब ही नहीं है आपको किसी तरीके से hurt करने का. But you are too sensitive, you are oversensitive about that word. That is a red flag word. So that becomes a barrier. If you are aware about all these things, then these are the barriers. You can try to overcome this barrier. You can try to overcome your physical barriers, your emotional barriers, your physiological barriers. Then gap searching can also be a barrier. Don't search the gap, another person is speaking. My dear friends, I like to share with you one slide here that is about the stages of listening process. Then I like to close my session here because we have exercise to do. I have so many things to share with you on the listening skills, but everything on the earth cannot be covered in a session of 1 hour and a half hours. But I would say, let me complete this slide and then something on the note taking. Then we will try to go to the exercise on the listening skills. These stages of listening process is very important for all of us to understand. I am not now trying to be very इंजीनियरिंग टीचर सब कुछ स्टेजेस में सिखाते हैं हम लोग इंजीनियरिंग में, स्टेज 1 पे ये होता है, स्टेज 2 पे ये होता है, but once you understand these stages, this will help you in being a better listener. The first stage is that of hearing. You can also replace it with this reading also when you embroiders. But hearing, I am talking about the oral communication here. Hearing is the first stage. First stage is your hearing. आपको दूसरे की बात सुनाई देनी चाहिए, उसकी बात सुननी चाहिए. Should be loud enough. Loud and clear is the first step towards listening. But remember always, loud is not always clear. You may be loud, but may not be clear. I am not talking about that, but I am saying one should be loud and clear. Hearing is the first thing. Okay? Then focus on the message. जो आप सुन रहे हैं उसी के ऊपर attention दीजिए. Focus or concentrate on that message. The third stage is that of comprehending and interpret. जो आपने फोकस दिया है उसको समझने की कोशिश करिए, वे को क्या कहना चाह रहा है, वो what try to interpret what the other person is trying to say. आपने फोकस तो कर लिया लेकिन समझने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहे. Third stage is comprehending and interpreting. Now the fourth stage is that of analyzing and evaluating. आपने इंटरप्रेट कर लिया. Now after interpreting आप उसको एनालाइज करिए एंड ट्राई टू इवैल्यूएट कि उसने क्या कहा, कि उसने ठीक कहा, गलत कहा. देन यू कम टू दैट. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस इज, okay, let me complete the stages first, then we'll come down to the what I was trying to just now say. Then you should try to respond after hearing, after focusing on the message, after understanding involves comprehending and interpreting, then analyzing and evaluating, then you should respond. Many times we do not respond, we react. My dear friends, I would like to request to all of you, if you want to improve your communication skills, and in communication skills, if you want to improve your listening skills, replace your reaction with responding. Do not ever react. Do not ever react to whatever the other person is. Other person may be right or wrong. He or she has the right and dignity to be right or wrong. Why you want to snatch away his dignity of being right or wrong? Do not react to that. You may respond. You may tell him very quietly, very humbly, very nicely that this is what I feel the thing is. But you cannot say that you are wrong. The moment you will say you are wrong, you are reacting. Okay? Convert your reaction to respond. हम लोग क्या करते हैं? Okay, ma'am, हम come back to the slide again. Why this slide is so important and dear to me? हम hear करते हैं, जो next 3 steps हैं, focus, comprehend, analysis नहीं करते, respond नहीं करते, and we hear के बाद हम react करते हैं. सुना नहीं और गोली चला देते. My dear friend, let me say here a very big statement over here. जो कि again the teacher which I'm referring to again and again, the teacher shared with me when I was a student in a class of communication skills. He said, Pramod, बंदूक से चली हुई गोली वापस आ सकती है. We all know as a science student that the bullet once shot can never come back to the gun, can never come back. But in all probabilities, he said, it may come. बंदूक से चली हुई गोली वापस आ सकती है, लेकिन मुंह से निकला हुआ शब्द जो है वापस नहीं आ सकता. मुंह से निकला हुआ शब्द वापस नहीं. Though it is impossible to have that shot to come back to the gun, Impossible. I am saying impossible may happen in physical terms to that extent, but it is never possible that you say a word and can take that word back. You may say, मैं अपने शब्दों को वापस देता हूँ, I am sorry, I am this, and you may make 100 statements to bring that word back, but my dear friends, is never come back. Remember this. So once you are reacting on something, you have no idea what you are doing. You are shooting somebody. You are shooting somebody with the shots which can never come back. Instead of shooting those words, I am trying to request you, be a good listener, respond. Try to focus, try to understand, try to analyze, try to evaluate, and then respond. Do not react. Do not shoot. Do not shoot. When we say, I often, this is my common phrase when I'm talking to a friend. He comes to talk to me. वो मेरे से पूछता है कि सर मैं आपसे बात कर लूँ. Any student will come. I say shoot. I don't say okay, say something. I say shoot. Shoot means also is a proverbial language. Maybe I'm using it in an idiom. Shoot means okay, say on, carry on, say something now. I'm waiting for it to listen to you. Shoot. So it is a proverb also. So when once we say somebody to shoot, it means he is trying. I am allowing him to say something. So we are equating, even in the English phrase, shooting means saying. So it is equivalent to that. So once the other person is shooting, remember the shots can never come. It can never go back. You may, for the time being, you may say sorry, other person may accept your sorry, but second time you make a mistake, your all sorries will go down to the drain. अरे आपने पहले भी कहा था sorry, अब आप फिर वही बात करेंगे. Okay, so the other person, it means उसने उस समय आपकी sorry accept कर भी ली थी, but in his heart of heart he has not accepted that shot back. Okay, then the last stage of listening process is that of remember. If you want to remember what other person has said, if you are not completing this process is not a very big process that instantly you are trying to focus, you want to comprehend, you are analyzing, you are responding, and then you are remembering instantly, or you may take some notes and all. Now, a few words about the note taking before I close my session here. A few about the note taking. If you are, let us say, listening, especially the listening, what takes place in the classrooms. If the students are not taking, you must train your students to take the notes, prepare their own notes. आप दूसरों के notes को refer नहीं करिए. You may consult and improve your notes. You may consult and improve your note. Discuss your notes with others. But you can never be a good listener. You can never be a good communicator if you are dependent on somebody else's notes, or you are referring to only others' notes. So you must discuss this thing with your students and make them a habit of taking the right notes. I will be sharing with the colleagues how to take the good notes, how to have a good notes habit, because time is not permitting me to go to those slides. Let me see if something very important is there. Otherwise, I will be going to the last slide of my listening skills. Taking a mental note or a physical hand notes on the piece of paper also develops your good listening habits, good listening skills. 10 commandments of listening skills. 10 commandments. If you follow them, you can be a good listener. Number 1 is stop talking. When you're listening, stop talking. When the other person is speaking, even if you're uttering words, you are thinking about what you're going to say is also talking to yourself what you're trying to say. Are you getting my point? Stop talking means not only physical talking, but mental talking. You are trying to make up your mind your sentence in your mind. You are not uttering those words, but you are talking mentally. If you are talking mentally, you are not listening. This is what the first commandment says. So stop talking. Okay, that will help you in put the talker at ease. जो बंदा बोल रहा है उसको put him at ease. Pay your full concentration, full attention. Make him comfortable. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. Okay. Show him that you want to. Show him also. Not only that you are listening, show him also that you want to listen. Show him that you are interested in what he or she is trying to say to you. Remove all distractions. जो चीजें आपको डिस्ट्रैक्शन का लग रही हैं उनको सब कुछ रिमूव कर दे. Remove all the barriers, maybe physical, maybe physiological, maybe psychological. Remove all the distraction. Understand this? We say that there is a very beautiful phrase here. We say that only the bearer knows where the shoe pinches. If you want to be good listener, you must understand what is pinching in his shoe. Be empathetic. Be with him or her when somebody is trying to talk to you. Okay? Empathize. Be patient. Somebody was talking to you. Yesterday somebody was talking from the centers. Being patient is one of the second thing you highlighted in the being a good speaker. Be patient. Do not be completer. Do not react. Do not be, go easy on criticism. Hold your temper. Ma'am, on the slides. Hold your temper. अपने गुस्से को काबू में रखिए. Even if there are some red flag words, or gussa, or even laugh. The communication can always the extreme emotions are barriers in communication. Extreme emotions may be of anger. It can also be extreme joy. आप इतना खुश हैं कि दूसरे की बात ही नहीं सुन रहे. आप अपनी उसी बात के ऊपर इतना खुश हैं कि दूसरे को सुनना ही बंद कर दिया. Hold your temper. I'm using the word temper here. Most often anger, but I'm saying even the fit of laugh. Sometimes I say certain sentence, the other person start laughing. वो हंसी जा रहा है, मैं उसको सिर्फ next sentence बोलने जा रहा हूँ, but he is not out of the fit of laughing from my first sentence. So the other person is not able to say something. Then go easy on argument and criticism. I said that, and I have written that. Go easy on argument and criticism. Ask questions. Do not hesitate. Do not have any reservation. If you have not understood, the other person very clearly, ask questions on that. Then the 10th commandment is same as that of first, which says, stop talking. Do not cut. Stop talking means don't cut. Follow these 10 commandments, my dear friends, and you can be a good listener. I am not going through all these things. These are the resources which I have undergone. Any questions so far, my dear friends, on this list? I really enjoyed having session with you. Every time I deliver this session on listening skills, your body language at various centers is also communicating to me. I'm listening to it, and my colleagues here sitting in the lab here where we are in the program. Any questions from any center, please, on listening skills or any aspect related to basics of communication? Maybe Chandigarh College.
Sir?
Yes?
Like I have a doubt.
Yes.
Another thing, I just want to give one more addition to you. Listening skill, it's good. Whatever you done, the very perfectly. But I want to give one more thing. Listening means music also. We can listen also, no, sir?
Yes,
It will
monotype.
be
This is the, what we say entertainment listening. Yes,
yes. Okay, okay. We can call that as entertainment.
yes.
Okay, sir.
Listening
Uh,
music, I would say listening to music can be very big stress buster also. It's not only for the sake of entertainment, but busting the stress also. Listening to
okay.
music can also do a lot of stress busting.
Okay. One more question, sir. You mentioned that stereotype means what? Will you give uh,
Yeah,
what is the meaning of
stereotype.
stereotype?
Yes, stereotype means stereo means repeatedly same thing. It's a stereotype. So if
Okay.
we try to stereotype some people, हम उसको
Okay.
कहते हैं कि ये हमेशा ऐसी बात ही करेगा, we stereotype him कि भी वो हमेशा ऐसी बात करेगा. और when we stereotype somebody, तो
Okay.
मेरा जो psychological मेरा attitude है towards listening is I'm not
Okay.
listening what he's saying. मेरे को I am stereotyping means I am expecting only those things which I have stereotyped him for.
Okay. Projecting the you mentioned some code wordness. It's a related to literature word. Will you give?
Which one?
I didn't note it out, but I just I saw the stereotype and three more quotation you also put, na? Sorry,
Okay, okay.
it's a term words of literature.
Ma'am, is there some more question with you or I'm replying? Stereotyping means, okay, stereotyping means, let us say, okay, I can give you one very classical example on this, on stereotyping. Suppose I am traveling, I
Okay,
have to take a tour tomorrow, and I live with my parents, and my mother, whenever I've been traveling, she will tell me कि आपने अपनी टिकट डाली जेब में. I said yes. आपने अपने सामान में अपना टूथब्रश और टूथपेस्ट डाली है. I said yes. आपने अपना टॉवल डाल लिया. I said yes. And you will be traveling. Do not talk to strangers. I said yes. Now, I have been saying yes to her everything. So I have almost stereotyped her now. Now next time when I'm going on a tour, I would say that she has to say this thing anyway. I am not listening to her. Okay? I have
okay,
stereotyped that whenever I have to travel, my mother will give me 10 instructions. But what I am trying to say, those stereotyping will be an hindrance, a barrier in my listening to her. Maybe, maybe in this time, when I'm traveling tomorrow, out of the 10 things, if somebody kindly switch off your mic, please. Maybe this time when I'm traveling on a different trip, out of those 10 think of 10 list of 10 things, maybe this time she was trying to say something new which was very critical for this particular trip. But I have already stereotyped her कि इन्होंने यही कहना है. And I have not listened to her bad caution which was so important for this, and I will not be listening. So by stereotyping her has become a hindrance which can come as a barrier in listening.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Am I making myself clear, ma'am?
Yes, yes, I got a point. Actually, no, this is a literature term, so I that's why I want to clarify that. Okay,
And
thank you.
from the perception, हम लोग perception बना लेते हैं कि लीडर्स ने ऐसी बात करनी है, मदर्स ने ऐसी बात करनी है, टीचर्स ने ऐसी बात करनी है, हमारा छोटा बच्चा उसने ऐसी बात ही करनी है हमेशा, वो फलाना फलाना फ्रेंड है उसने ऐसी बात ही करनी है. हम उसको सुनना ही नहीं चाह रहे. उनको ऑलरेडी कैटेगराइज कर दिया, स्टीरियोटाइप कर दिया. Okay. Now, any other further question, or we can go to the exercise otherwise. Do we go to the
Hello.
exercise now?
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Sir, this is from Government Engineering College, Bikaner.
Yes.
Sir, if there is no response from the audience after a lecture, then how to confirm that whatever you want to communicate, whether it is communicated properly or not?
Say again, question. आपका question क्या है?
Sir, if there is no response from the audience after the end of the lecture, or there is no question, then how to confirm whether?
Okay, okay. This is a very important thing in the classroom communication, especially or otherwise also. If somebody is not responding, how would you come to know the other person is question? Then you may actually raise certain questions, prepare certain tutorials, certain exercises from their body language, whether they are able to do. Your communication is having some purpose. That message has some purpose. If you feel that their purpose has not been able to fulfill, आपने लेटर से कोई उनको प्रिंसिपल पढ़ा दिया क्लास में. Now based on that principle, they should be able to solve some problems. Now the best way to know whether they have understood that principle or no, whether your communication is proper or no, give them some exercise. If they are able to apply that principle and solve that numerical, you understand that they have understood. If they have not been able to do that, you understand that your communication is not complete. That action, the action result should take place. Am I making myself clear, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, one more thing. Sorry for the disturbance.
Madam, you need not be sorry. Your each question is welcome, and that is educating me also.
Sir, actually, no, this is not related to listening skill, but I had a one doubt. How we can do creatively in the class? For example, as a engineering field, we don't have the English not that much. So how we can do the creatively teaching in English, like a grammar?
Ma'am, I would like to, although this is a little away from the listening skills listening, but as far as this is one of my favorite topic also, how to be effective teacher in the classroom. So Madam Meeranand has talked to you about it. Language should not be a barrier in communication in the classroom. I would say largely you should try to use English as a language because your students eventually are going to work in an environment where English is normally a official language in most of the companies nowadays. But once it comes to the classroom communication, if you have a feeling that you lack a command on the language of English, English is a foreign language. English is a foreign language. To learn a foreign language requires a lot of efforts. To learn a mother tongue की proficiency के लिए भी बहुत effort चाहिए होती है. Imagine a small child from crying to writing a word, how much effort he or she is making. Almost similar kind of efforts are required to learn a foreign language. Though you have developed understanding level, but you require, it becomes gradually. You have to make deliberate efforts in reading, writing, listening, speaking. You know, there is no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts in all this. Am I making myself clear, ma'am?
Yes, I got the point. But in Haryana, we have very less to listen the people that speak in English. So I thought I want to make a.
Okay, ma'am. This is what has helped me and my children in a large extent. मैं भी एक बहुत देसी DAV school चंडीगढ़ में पढ़ा हूँ. I am not a convent educator, and I do not claim to be a very good in English communication also. I mean, I cannot claim that I am perfect in my pronunciation and articulation. But I can share with you a small thing can be helpful to you and many other teachers friends sitting in the studio and also sitting in various model centers. My teacher, again referring to the same teacher again and again, I can never be thankful enough that teacher who taught me communication skill in my class 2 class. He said, you start with small sentences, making use of only 3 letters. Number 1 is. Make a sentence is. Am and are. am and are. A-R-E-R. Make a small sentence. This is a watch. This is water. This is a book. I am going. I am thirsty. I am Pramod. I am wearing shirt.
I got.
They are walking. Make as many sentences as possible, making use of this is, am, are. Start with this thing. And you will find within 1 month you have increased your vocabulary, your confidence, and make small groups among your teachers, among your teacher friends, I would say, maybe your family members with whom you are frank enough that we will talk in English. We will talk in English even if I am speaking the wrong English, but I am practicing English. You correct me if I am wrong. I have made so many friends, that expert teachers. For example, Sudhiti madam here, or Meera Anand, or Konika ma'am, whom you have met already. There are so many other teachers with whom I am friendly. I tell them if I am talking to you in English, if you find anything incorrect in my pronunciation, please correct me. So if you are making a friend circles who will be speaking in English, you will slowly and slowly building up that language.
Okay, thank you, sir. I got the point.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we go to the exercise. We will be having a lunch break a little delay today at maybe 1:35 or so. I am going to play a speech, an audio here, which about which I mentioned to you is the Steve Jobs speech, which he gave on the it's a commemoration speech of the graduation of the students, probably in 2005 somewhere. He gave this speech on the जैसे कहते हैं ना हमारी जो डिग्री मिलती है अवार्ड होती है कन्वोकेशन दे सेड ग्रेजुएशन डे मैडम इसमें नहीं है मेरे वाले पोर्शन में बड़े पोर्शन में स्पीच है हाँ इसमें पार्ट 2 स्पीच है ना ये वाली पार्ट 2
Okay.
हाँ he gave this speech to the young students
Now,
and this is a very very positive and very very I would say beautiful speech. I have some number of speeches, but I have selected this particular speech for you, for all of you, because it's very thought provoking. Now, the exercise is you listen to this speech very carefully. Take notes mentally or physically. Take notes of the speech, and I will request the coordinators to kindly gather 5 main points which you gather from this speech and email it me today evening. आप शाम को सभी लोग अपने अपने स्पीच में जो आपको पांच पॉइंट अच्छे लगे वो अपने अपने कोऑर्डिनेटर को दीजिए. He will make the list of those points and email it to me. That will show me how good listener you are. Can you really take notes of what the other person is trying to say? Okay. Are you ready for the speech now? Anyone of centers, are you ready for the speech?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
listen to the speech by Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple Computer and of Pixar Animation Studio on June 12, 2005. Text of the commencement address at Stanford delivered by Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple Computer and of Pixar Animation Studios on June 12, 2005. I am honored to be with you today at your commencement from one of the finest universities in the world. I never graduated from college. Truth be told, this is the closest I have ever gotten to a college graduation. Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why did I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed college graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates. So everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We have an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said. Of course, my biological mother later found out that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would someday go to college. and 17 years later, I did go to college. But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was spending all of the money my parents had saved their entire life. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in the friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5 cents deposits to buy food with, and I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be the priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me, and we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on this calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clearly looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny. I was lucky. I found what I love to do early in life. And I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We had just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I had just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. So at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I had been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next. I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Laureen and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this world would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love, and that is as true for your work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of heart, you will know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking until you find it. Don't settle. And now I move on to the third story. It's about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you will most certainly be right." This quote made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no, for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I will be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You're already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try to tell your kids everything you thought you would have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach, and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas, and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctor started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery and I'm fine now. This was the closest I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. Having lived through it, I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty that when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept, no one wants to die. Even people who go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it is quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinion drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called The Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named Stewart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park, and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. This was in the late 1960s, before personal computers and desktop publishing. So, it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. It was sort of like Google in the paperback form. 35 years before Google came along. It was idealistic and overflowing with neat tools and great notions. Stewart and his team put out several issues of the Whole Earth Catalog, and then, when it had run its course, they put out a final issue. It was the mid 1970s, and I was your age. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you all very much. That is the end of the speech.
Well, friends, you have heard the Steve Jobs speech. On the YouTube, if you will go to the YouTube, you will find famous speeches of many presidents of America, England, and many other people, and many outstanding speeches of commemoration speeches and the convocation speeches. I have the speeches of our own president, Abdul Kalam, and many other speeches of Nehru's first speech on the eve of independence of India also. They're very, very inspiring. As Madam was saying, Nelson Mandela's speech, I Have a Dream, and so many other speeches. But this particular speech can be very, very useful for all of you to share the contents with your students. The whole movie of Three Idiots was based on this speech, also, I would say. but the purpose is not the speech. Purpose is here is how good listener you are. You have listened to it. Now I want each one of you to write down his or her own 5 points which you feel are really very good. You felt it very good, and kindly pass it on to your coordinator, and he or she will send it to me by email. Thank you very much. I really